inside of Power Apps as you begin developing, whether you're experienced or just beginning. Some things can be a little bit frustrating in this low-code environment, and you need to know that there are dependencies that Power Apps looks for in order to make things happen. So in this example, you may be thinking, hey, I've got these two fields. Why isn't this field showing up here as well? And we're going to dive into kind of some of the details around that. It's a really easy problem to fix, so stay tuned. I think you're going to like this. So let's just work directly here from the guide, and then we'll go over to Power Apps and I'll show you the example. First of all, the list that I'm using, you can pause the video real quick. This is a list, very simple, 3 items, 1 list, and then we've set this up as a data source within our Power App. As you can see here, right, the data source. So see other videos on how to do all of that. I'm not going to go into that now. But here's the problem. Highlighted here in gold is test and action items. And then we have this text here illustrated in the blue, but we don't show it there. Why is that? Well, the reason why that is because that field is not inside the first section of this gallery. So if I click right here, let's go over to the tree view here so you can see what I'm doing. Look down here, we have gallery 13, okay? And that's this field right here. Text input is in here, and we can see this item.action items. But let's look at label 25. So label 25, in fact, we could just enter that if you like here. Let's just add that label here. Now this could be a text input box, it doesn't matter, but let's just use this as the example here. You have to make sure that you get the right items inside of your environment. So here, notice that I can drag it back and forth. We're going to talk about that in another video, why we can do that, whereas we can't do that with this field. But let's stay on topic here. Here, if I go down here and I type in this item, I'm not going to come up with anything, thistle. So then I say to myself, well, hold on, wait a minute. If I go here, oh, that's because I'm not in default. No problem. I'm going to click back on that field. I'm going to click down here. I'm going to look for default. Default's nowhere to be found. Now, why is that? Well, the reason why is because this type of field, which is a label in this example, is not the right type of field that you need to collect data to go on all of these. Remember, as you look at the list, notice here, test, action items, test functionality. This column right here is represented right here, action item, again, with that list, action item. So what we're seeing when we type in this item dot, we're seeing the first column of the table, the list, excuse me, that we've created inside of SharePoint. Okay, tracking so far? So that's pretty easy. But here when we do that, we don't see that. Why? Because we've chosen the wrong type to illustrate that. So we're going to just keep it consistent here. We're just going to say text input. Now, text input still is not showing up in these areas. We'll talk about that in a minute. But now let's take a look. Oh, notice we have a default section. Now, if we type in this input, wait a minute, it's still not showing up. Why? Why is that? Well, because it's still a text. Yes, it's a text input box, but it's not in a gallery. We need it to be in a gallery. So let's fix this by going and selecting on this item. So you see here, we're good to go. We've created the gallery. We're in the gallery. Now, just for conversation's sake, watch. When I click on gallery, notice that the adjustment bars are all around it. And I've put a 3 border on it, or a 5 border or something on it, so you can see. Usually I don't have my gallery outlined, but you can see where the gallery is. This, when I click right there, notice I'm still clicked in the tree view under gallery, but notice now that my adjustment bars go here. If I adjust, see how that moves around? That's because this is the first section, right? That first content area that displays, or what I call the first section of the gallery. If I want to duplicate this, if I want to add more fields, I want to make sure, first of all, I'm in this area. So To fix this problem, I'm going to say, make sure I'm highlighted. I'm on gallery 13, but make sure the first section is highlighted. I'm just going to say insert, and I'm going to insert, let's just say text input. Now, see what happens? We have text input appearing here within our environment. So then let's say for the default, let's see if it works this time. This, whoops, you have to spell right. Now notice it says this item. You want this to appear. If this does not appear like this, notice there's 3 of them there, right? I have this item, which is generic. Whoops, let me pull this over. We should have action items, action, and down at the bottom, we should see reference. Right there, reference. Notice also that it's not in quotation marks. So if I wanted reference, for example, I could type in this item right here. I can hit the tab key, put in a period, and now they'll appear again. And then I can just start typing in reference. Notice it appears at the top. I just hit tab, and now I see the reference number coming over. See the reference number there? And now it's represented here as the second layer. So we've learned a few things in this video. I just wanted to go over real quick. We learned, first of all, and we can kind of go over here in this written summary. Now, look in the video. I have this written summary you can download, and it gives you screen by screen of how to do this. But here it is right here. We have these 2 items. We explain why here. Remember, if the label in this example is outside of this gallery 13, that means it's not inside the gallery, meaning that it's not going to show up where we want it to show up. Whoops. It's not going to show up in here, right, because it's not in there. In order for this label 26 to show up on every single one of these, it has to be under the gallery 13. Okay, and then we talked about this, changing this item, things of that nature. And we talked about this item default. And then, of course, notice the text. We showed that. And that's really about it. So we talk about the resolution. We input it properly. And we're good to go. So that's kind of how you troubleshoot this problem. It's really very simple to troubleshoot. Just make sure that you're inside of the first section. Not just in the gallery. Click on the gallery, but inside the first section. To get that, I just click once there. See, I'm inside there, and now anything I do works. Now, usually, by the way, just as a quick tip, I just do Control-C, Control-V, and then I paste all kinds of fields in here, whatever I want to do. And I don't know what my next field is, so I just go ahead and say this item, dot, and now all of my fields show up, and I pick whatever the next one is that I want to show. And just so you know, I can also show things that aren't necessarily part of my table. So here, for example, I show created, but if you, excuse me, my list, not my table. Let me get to my list again. Hold on. So here, notice that created is not one of the columns that I have. Let me move that over to there. But now notice that I added the item created. It's not part of my list, but I have it part of here. That's because, remember, I'm pulling all fields from this list. And if I go here to show and hide columns, I can pull any one of these fields right here that I want. I just happen to be focused on these 3, but I can pull any one of them, whether or not they're displayed in the list or not.